Hello, everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I can't believe it's already December the 1st, and we're off to the end of this year. I'd like to call the Library Board of Trustees for the City of Palm Springs to order on December the 1st, and my clock on the wall says 7:32.
And it's 5:32.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Mississippi. Excuse me. 5:32. Jeannie, would you please do roll call?
Sure. Ed McBride,
Present.
Craig Borba,
Present.
Juanita Garner,
Here.
David Norgard,
Here.
Al Jones.
Here.
So can you share with us the acceptance of the agenda?
The agenda was posted on or before November 24th. And then for the acceptance of the agenda, you ask if, as you know, if there are any changes or additions or anything.
Yeah. Are there any changes to the agenda as published? Anyone?
No. No. Move adoption. Second.
Roll call.
One moment. Oh, pen.
You want me to do it? Or
No,
you-
I got it. Ed McBride,
Approved.
Craig Borba,
Yes.
Juanita Garner,
Yes.
David Norgard,
Yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
The agenda is accepted.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3 always allows us to have public comments. Do we have anyone on the call that'd like to make a public comment? Okay. We also have a guest. We have a guest. Could we maybe have Teresa introduce herself at this point?
It'd be my pleasure. Thank you. So glad to be joining you this evening. Teresa Gallivan, I'm the new assistant city manager. Been here about 3 weeks now.
Wow.
To join the city of Palm Springs and serve this community. I've been in government service, public service for almost 28 years. The last 3, I was the city manager in the city of Selma, California, nearly 3 years. Prior to that, I was with the city of Lompoc in Santa Barbara County and was the assistant city manager and economic and community development director there for 7 years. And then prior to that, I worked with Riverside County. I worked for the Riverside County Economic Development Agency, 15 years for the Economic Development Agency. And as part of that, I was in marketing and cultural services. As part of the cultural services, I was involved with libraries, actually worked probably Jeannie's colleagues back in the day. And so it's really exciting to be back in the area. It's almost like a homecoming. I spent a lot of time in the desert when I worked for the county. So I was in the Coachella Valley quite a bit, not only doing library work, but large events like the county fair, aviation, economic development, the Decorative Arts Museum in Cherry Valley, the Edward Dean Museum, so a variety of different things. So I'm excited to be working again with libraries, parks and recreation, communications. Those will be some of the different departments that'll be part of my portfolio here. So just wanted to come and say hello and getting to know my new community and my colleagues. So thank you for the welcome.
Welcome, Teresa. We're very glad you're with us, and we hope you'll join us on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next item is our consent agenda, and may I have a motion to accept our consent agenda as published?
I'll move. Second.
Roll call, please, Jeannie.
So was that David Norgard that made the motion? And who made the
That
motion?
was Al.
Oh, sorry,
Al Jones.
I blinked. Okay, so Al Jones and then Craig Borba. So Ed McBride,
Yes.
Craig Borba,
Yes.
Juanita Garner,
Yes.
David Norgard,
Yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
Consent is approved.
Thank you. Section 5 is our administrative reports section, and the Friends of the Library. I see that Nancy's not here, so Jeannie, do you have a report for the Friends?
Let's see if Julie wants to say anything on behalf of the Friends.
Hi, yes, I can.
Hi.
Last Saturday, the Friends offered a free gift wrapping opportunity down at the Wellwood Murray Memorial Library as part of the Shop Local, Shop Small Saturday. They didn't have as many people as they had hoped, but they were able to wrap some free gifts and make some connections. So that was good. So they were excited, and the merchants were excited about the Friends offering it. So they got a lot of thank yous from the merchants downtown too. So that was good. The Friends this Saturday on the 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. will be having a CD, DVD, audiobook sale here in the main library in their Friends area. They'll also be selling their special merchandise that they created for their 50th anniversary. And so they will be doing that here inside the library on special tables and carts in their book sale area and out into the library a little bit. And then they're just gearing up for Modernism Week. They have 3 events this year for Modernism Week. And by the first 4 weeks of sales, they are doing very well. Their house tour is almost sold out. Their lectures almost sold out. And their dishware exhibit has a lot of people attending that we have more capacity on because people come and go throughout the day and seeing that exhibit. But they're doing very well for the first few weeks of it being available. So they're gearing up and getting ready for that. And of course, the Friends continue to help us with volunteers. They will be having volunteers at our upcoming Santa program to help us facilitate our first in-person in-library program here in December. So lots of things going on with the Friends.
Thank you, Julie. Let's see, our next is I don't see David Sidley here for the.
He emailed, he's sorry he can't attend. He did email me a report.
Okay.
Give that if you like. The year-end giving letter has gone out. They've had good results so far. They are still waiting to hear the results about the Bighorn grant, which is announced in December. There is a board retreat in the works to do long-term planning, and then they are continuing to repay the loan. And that's their report.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
Ed, do you know when the next payment is due from the loan?
They've been making monthly payments. So I know at the last board meeting, I think they make them at the first of each month, right, Jeannie?
Oh.
So any time now?
Okay,
Right, but are you asking when the term is up?
Oh,
yes.
One moment, I can tell you.
there's somebody wanting to come into the meeting room, Jeannie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's from engineering.
Okay.
Or maybe. I thought he was. Maybe. Okay, well, he comes back. One moment. Where
It's July of next year, of 23, right?
I was just
remember
reading
correctly.
the promissory note. Maturity date July 1st, 2022.
22.
22.
So next year.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Oh, they've done a great job on repaying this loan.
Yeah, we pay it down pretty quickly as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And last time you did it, you just repurposed the promissory note and extended the due date if you
Yeah.
could to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Great. They've held up their side of the bargain this time. They promised to do that, and they've done a good job.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of year, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they turned all that over to Palm Springs Life and to, the last name is
Jones Agency.
Jones Agency. And I think they've been very pleased with the results of that, and I think the access to the community through Palm Springs Life has been better than the previous one. So fingers are crossed on that one. Last year they raised, if you guys will remember, it was a last minute decision about this time of the year, and they sent a letter out and made about $10,000. So they were very pleased with that. So
David's done a great job with this committee.
yeah. So Jeannie, let's move right into the library staff report.
Okay, and I wanted to point out to you that we did receive a donation from Renee Glickman for $75, and she wanted that to be in honor of Al Jones, our
Wonderful.
esteemed trustee. So we sent out, and you got a copy of the letter in your packet.
I did.
We sent a letter to Renee, and we're making the deposit, made the deposit. So you'll see that eventually show up in your accounts.
Wonderful.
That was very thoughtful. Renee. She is a friend and a neighbor, as a matter of fact. I've known Renee for many, many years. She has her own star on the Walk of Fame in downtown Palm Springs. So she's been very involved with the community over the years, and she loves the library. She plans to support it moving forward. So that was a very thoughtful gift of her to do. So.
Mm-hmm. And just taking a note from her, anyone's encouraged to make donations to the library. We're very happy to receive those. And we'll send you a letter, or your honoree a letter as well. Just a reminder that there is a redistricting meeting happening at the library December 16th at 5:30 p.m. They're all throughout the city. So one of the ones is happening at the library. If you're interested in attending, you can come to that event. Like Julie mentioned, Pictures with Santa is our first in-person event, December 8th. It's from 3 to 6 p.m. Reservations are available, but they are already filling up. So go on our website, palmspringslibrary.org, and right on the main homepage in the middle, there's a button that says to click here to make your appointment. One reservation per family. You don't have to make one per child, just make one per family. And we're gonna have a great time with Santa. Our online events this month are for children. We are doing a sugar cone holiday tree. So it's like a gingerbread tree made out of sugar cones. They're super cute. The teens are doing melty bead stars. So fun with the toaster oven. And then adults can make a bottle cap snowman ornament. And you get to watch me do the demonstration video. So that will come out soon on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Just search for Palm Springs Public Library on YouTube. The library will be closed December 24th and 25th for the holiday. And Julie has some other events. If you want to pop in and talk about them, go ahead.
Sure. So we do have a lecture this month in December. It's on Monday, December 13th. It's free to attend. It is on Zoom, and we're just asking people to register with me, and then I will send the appropriate Zoom link. It's from 3:30 to 4:30, and it's about mining in the old days, kind of looking at the influences around our area as well as our neighboring states, and kind of what those people went through and what they had to deal with and the impacts that it has even today. So it'll be very interesting. And again, that's on Monday the 13th at 3:30, free to attend. Just email me for the Zoom link. We will also be continuing our memoir writing class. And so that continues on the second Wednesday of every month. And we'll be meeting and discussing stories and tips and helpful information for as you're writing your memoir. So that group meets monthly. And then of course, our book clubs and things like that continues. We are discussing which groups will be starting in person again in the new year. So possibly the Genealogy Society will be meeting in person. Some of the book clubs will start to meet in person again, but I will keep you posted. If you haven't already subscribed to our monthly newsletter, please do so, because that is the best way to get updated on our events. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have one more thing I just remembered. We are helping out our community centers by doing a toy drive. So toy drives or a gift card can be dropped off. We've got drop boxes here at the library, City Hall, and the 3 community centers in the city. So the toys will benefit our local children, James O. Jesse, and even some kids down at Demuth Community Center. So keep it local and give to our local children. And that is my report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Moving on to item 6, our treasurer report. So
Right.
Treasurer Jones.
Yes, thank you. I'm delighted to make this my first treasurer's report. First of all, a thank you to Jeannie for taking the time to sit down with me a couple of weeks ago. I needed to learn more about the budget, and she was very instructive and very helpful. On what you have today, You have the trial balance for the fiscal year 22, October to November. And you're going to see there's a difference there of 1.871 to 1.766, which is the $104,742. It's going to come up in another discussion item down below, the 104,741. And that has to do with those are unallocated funds in the cash account. One of the things I discussed with Jeannie, I'm always uncomfortable when I can't balance out figures. And so there was a difference there between the two, the fund balance that was unreserved and then the budgeted amount. So I wanted to know exactly what that amounted to and where it was. And I think that's why we have it on the agenda today, to actually allocate it. It's in the cash account, but actually to move it to the future library projects, which we have. The other thing of note from the last report is zeros. There've been some cleanup on the budget sheet. So things that were zeros or projects that had been completed have in fact been dropped off. You won't find the Wellwood portion here for the patio because that had already been completed. And you can see there in the future library projects, that's what we're talking to think about the unallocated $104,741. The other item we have on discussion today is on the public relations library campaign. We have 5263. Initially, we had 25,000. Now it's down to 5263. And we're going to have a discussion today, I believe, on how we want to, what Jeannie has in mind for spending those funds as well. I think the rest is just fairly self-explanatory, doesn't require much. And then the detail that you have of the all library expenditure accounts. Again, I think cleaned it up by eliminating some categories that were no longer necessary to list there. But it's a pretty comprehensive and fairly detailed without going into really any micro kind of management budgetary sheet. So that would conclude my report unless there are any questions.
Al,
Yes.
I just want to say I appreciate you're taking the time to remove categories that are no longer pertinent. It makes the reading of the reports clearer. So thank you.
Right. Well, that began before I took over, so I have to tip my hat actually to Ed and Jeannie. That was on their agenda. I just simply followed up with that. The only other item I was going to mention, and it comes up later too. We actually meeting with Chandler. That'll come up a little bit later. But there was some discussion about the notes receivable, the loan for the patio, to the and I think there was some discussion about waiving or forgiving that. And I don't know how serious, Ed, you were when you referenced that in that meeting or two ago. But there is some question whether we're able to waive as a city agency or to forgive a loan. I just thought I would put that out there. If that should come up in any future discussion, it would require more research for us to know and to understand whether that's even an option. So
I thought that we were talking about, I think what I was talking about was the note with the foundation, not with the patio. Is that right?
I'm sorry. It's the note with the foundation, not the patio. The note with the foundation. Yes. The $60,000.
Okay. That has come up several times through the years since we've had that in place. As a matter of fact, it came up when we renewed and extended that note last time. So that's why I brought it up.
Right. But that does conclude my report.
Wonderful first report. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank Jeannie for taking the time to lead me through it and instructing me. And I had quite a few questions and she responded to them all. So thank you again, Jeannie.
Great.
I think we're getting in a spot where it's easier to read and more streamlined. And so, yeah, it's starting to make sense. And before it was with the old finance system, it was really hard to find the cream of the crop because it was all buried in there.
Well, I will tell you, when I was on the airport commission for 6 years and chair for the last 2 until the term ended on June 30th. We also did the same thing. We asked the city treasurer, and working with Justin at the time, David Reddy first, and then of course Justin, to simplify the report with our budget, because it was, frankly, the commissioner, it was way too much detail. We needed more of the, to use an analogy of an airport commission, we needed a 35,000-foot level view of the budget, as it were. And it was much more easily readable, understandable, and I think it was very helpful. So I think we're on the right track there as well. I have a dog who wants to come in. Come on, Louie.
Are there any further questions or comments regarding the treasurer's report at this point?
No.
And you said earlier that we're going to discuss the unallocated funds of 104,000. Is that right?
Yes, that's on your agenda. It's under
Right.
item number 7.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling back up to my report here in my agenda.
Actually, it's the very next agenda item.
That's what I thought. And who's taking the lead on that? Are you?
No, I think Jeannie.
I can explain.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jeannie is taking the lead on that.
Okay, so thank you. Al, that was a really great report. I thought that was super clear. It made perfect sense. It was wonderful. So the information that Al and I talked about when we were going through the finances, let me go back to that. I'll share that page back with you. Page 13 in your agenda. So in the balance sheet, you see the fund balance, the cash total assets is 1.8 million. And the appropriations, or what we've budgeted, is 1.7. And so that leaves the difference of $104,741.93. What's happened over the years is when we receive donations, we haven't allocated them to any project or even our future library projects account. And so we've gotten essentially out of balance. We have money, but it hasn't been allocated. And just to make it look nicer, it would be ideal to allocate those funds into your future library projects account, that the numbers match. And in order for me to do that change, I have to have minutes saying that you approved it. So that's why it's a formality. I'm asking you to make a motion to allocate those unallocated funds to the future library projects account.
I'll move.
Yeah, have a second, please.
A second.
Roll call, please.
Ed McBride,
Yes.
Craig Borba,
Yes.
Juanita Garner,
Yes.
David Norgard, sorry,
Yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. So then I'll be able to do that request, and I can attach the minutes that say that you approved it.
Will that show up for our next board meeting in that category?
Maybe.
Okay.
Worst case, it'll stay in this unallocated
Yeah.
section here until it
Okay.
moves, right?
All right.
Yeah, I think we're all, as a city, getting more comfortable and familiar with our finance system, the new one. And so I think we can.
Jeannie, refresh my memory. When will we get the request from you for the annual allocation of the trust fund? Should you need it? That's when?
We usually do that February, March-ish. What do you all think?
Well, don't we normally give you the opportunity to kind of get a feeling for the things that will not be funded in your budget so that you can ask us for certain things? Is that right?
Yeah, it's always kind of which one do you do first? But it's usually the spring. So I'll be up
Okay.
more when we get closer to February.
Okay.
February, March, to know. And because our meetings used to be at the end of the month, and now they're at the beginning of the month. I mean, it's only a week difference, but it kind of makes a difference when when I say if I said February, that's really kind of January. So it might be March. Because I might need the month. I'm not sure what our city manager is going to want to do with the budget. The new budget process, it might be totally different.
Jeannie,
we'll-
when do you make your request to the Friends?
The spring, last year they approved it in May. And so about the same, all of it together about the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then one year it was September. So it's usually March, April, May, we're doing all the budgets, trying to get it all put together.
And what potentially could make a change here is coming up also with the last item on the agenda when it comes to the Measure J application as well, right? So we can discuss that last. So,
True.
okay. So do you have everything you need now to put that request in to have those funds allocated to the current fund? All right.
Yes, thank you very much.
Moving right along to item 8B, the discussion and acceptance of our bylaws revisions. Trustee Norgard, Trustee Gardner, I'll turn it over to you.
Anita, would you like me to proceed?
Yes, please. You are the expert. I would definitely defer to you.
All right. Would it be all right if I shared my screen? I think it might be easier to discuss that way.
Do you want me to share it? Because I have it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you have it, sure. That'd be great.
Yeah, you could just tell me to scroll around.
Okay. So first, I just want to say it was a real pleasure to meet Juanita face to face to prepare for this presentation to you. And it's always a pleasure to work with Jeannie as well. So I want to thank them for being able to do that. As you may recall, our committee was charged with 2 tasks during this year, or at least to the present date. The first was to update the section on officer elections in order to reflect current practices. And the second was to change the officer titles also to reflect current practice. We went on from there. I should tell you up front. We took the charge as an opportunity to review the entire document and offer a few other possible amendments. The first charge was simple to make, and you'll see it at Article 5, Section 3. Here we are. So as you can see, the proposed language is in blue. I believe you had received that in the regular mail. Now, because of references to officers being scattered throughout the document, the changes required to affect the second charge, were a little more extensive. But Article 3, Section 1 represents the heart of the matter. So we'll turn to that and you can see what has been done there. Article 3, Section 1. There we are. Under officers, yes. That's the heart of the matter, but a considerable amount of the rest of the blue print that you see in this document is there simply to make the entire document consistent with this proposed new nomenclature. All right, now let me say a few words about the other proposed amendments. Let me just highlight them for our discussion and consideration. So if you'd turn to Article 2, Section 2, this pertains to eligibility for serving as a trustee. The proposed change here would make the section consistent with what the city now states publicly on its website.
Yeah.
And then scrolling down towards the end is Article 6, sections 1 and 3. These are the sections that concern standing and ad hoc committees. Changes are proposed here to allow for more flexibility in establishing whatever committees that the board may deem prudent to have going forward. Also, consistent with commonly accepted best practices today in bylaw formation, yes, that is a field. Let me point out two particulars. First, no standing committees are named here. The new language says that they may be established or dissolved by the chair with the consent of the board. And then as for ad hoc committees, they will serve until their final report. They may include both staff and external experts or other parties. The final suggested change I want to highlight.
David,
Yes,
David, I'm
yes.
sorry, the chair recognizes Trustee Borba. I think he had a question for you.
Oh,
on
I'm
that
sorry.
section.
I've been,
Thank you. I just had a question on Article 2, Section 2.
Okay.
I've read it a couple of times and I can read it two different ways. And I just wonder, trustees may not hold any other city office or employment. So are they saying any other city office or city employment? Is that what they're saying there? Or they're saying other employment as opposed to employment outside of the city?
No, city employment.
Yeah, city
That
employment.
was, yeah, city office or. City employment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we can put the word city in front of that too.
I think that's the language that the city council actually adopted.
Okay,
So I think we have to be consistent with
Yeah.
that.
okay,
You know, really what it's really saying is you can't be on more than one commission at a time. And if you're a city employee, you can't be on a commission either. So they really clarified that a couple of years ago.
okay. All right, thank you.
yes, to echo what Al said, this language is taken from the city council. All right, excuse me, from the city website.
So we're eliminating all city employees from being on any commission, even though it's not related to their job.
Correct.
That was already that was true.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
always true.
Yes,
And you know,
that is-
there was a situation where there was an elected official that wasn't a city elected official, but represented the city, and the person had to end their commission position because they got elected to another office. And so they're very cautious that they want fair representation.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
It doesn't prohibit a member of a board or trust or a board or commission for applying for another city board or position. It's just they must resign if they are either appointed or are placed in that position, right? Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yeah. We had that come up more
That's
than
happened
once.
too.
The Airport Commission again. We had to deal with that a couple of times.
Any other questions, Trustee Borba?
Oh, that answers mine. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Trustee Norgard, carry on.
Thanks. Returning to Article 7, Section 1, pertaining to duties. In this entire article, a new section 1, that is, has been inserted that cites the parameters of the board's authority as prescribed by City Council resolution. And the subsequent sections have simply been renumbered accordingly. Finally, in Article 7, Section 3, just scroll down a little, the verb ensure has been changed to ensure to reflect what the context shows is likely the true meaning of the phrase there. So I hope this overview is helpful to understanding what has been proposed here, and welcome your other questions and comments.
So a few years ago, we had a group of citizens questioning the authority in the what the Board of Trustees could do. So I think adding that section provides that clarification that we probably should have had in there all along, right? So remember that, Jeannie, when we had a group questioning what the authority was?
Yes.
Yes, I would agree. And this is a good piece to add to the bylaws because it demonstrates the authority that the board has by those who can grant it.
Okay. Having served myself on bylaw committees, including this board's bylaw committees, good work. It is a task for both of you, so I appreciate both of you going through this and doing it. Is there anything that Juanita, the Trustee Gardner, you'd like to add to the comments?
I just want to say that having a true expert on this subject doing this is absolutely amazing. I think we just lucked out big time. Because it's amazing what David was able to do and all the insight that he has, because he absolutely truly is an expert on bylaws, and I'm just so thrilled that he was there and that he's here and that he helped us through this and did an amazing job. Thank you, David.
Yeah, good
Just
work.
state for the record that Juanita is entirely too kind.
It's nice to know an expert on bylaws. That's great to know. Are there any other questions for the bylaw committee?
No, just thanks for the work, and I'd like to move for acceptance.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Roll call, Jeannie?
For the mute. Ed McBride,
Approved.
Craig Borba,
Yes.
Juanita Garner,
Yes.
David Norgard,
Yeah, excuse me, yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
It is approved, and thank you again for your hard work on the bylaws, both of you.
Record time, too. Thank you.
You bet.
You're welcome.
So Jeannie, can you close this?
Item is 7C, suggestions for PR campaign funds.
Yep.
And Julie and I talked about it, and Julie has some wonderful ideas to present to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeannie. So yeah, just to give you a quick little background. So we had allocated the $25,000 as an awareness campaign for the library following the strategic plan and adoption. And so we were in the midst of that when COVID happened. We did pivot some of that money into a mini COVID campaign to let people know that even when the library was closed, we were still here and had services and introduced Library at Go-Go and other things like that. And then once that finished, that short campaign, then that's how we ended up with residual money. And this was a multifaceted media campaign. We had things on the radio, we had things online, we had print ads, and we had ads in the movie theaters and on buses and bus stops. And so all sorts of different things regarding the library. So it was quite multifaceted, but this is the money we have left. We have $5,263.46. And so what I discussed with Jeannie is two options to present to you, the board. The first option is to simply roll back the money into the account and not use it now, but save it for a later date and add to it possibly when maybe after Measure J is adopted and we're moving forward with something about like that with the building or other things that we might want to focus on. So just save the remaining funds for a later time. The second option is to do an online web banner campaign that I would again use different media outlets to accomplish, but it would be an all online web banner campaign that would promote not only our hotspots, but our soon to be lending Chromebooks, as well as the new databases that we added, and our ongoing services that we continue to add. So just reacquainting people with some of the new things, as well as some of the existing services that we still provide. And so that I was able to do about a 3-month campaign for those funds. And again, I would utilize some of the work that the Jones Agency had already done for us as part of the library awareness campaign, and continue to utilize those resources there. So that's kind of my 2 options. I wasn't sure what you guys were thinking. And so when Jeannie and I talked, that's kind of what I had presented to her.
Julie, do you have any idea how many people you would reach with that second option?
Yeah, so goodness. Well, with the web banners, it depends on the placement of the media resources. I definitely wanted to look at doing some online with Desert Sun. And then there were some other media outlets that we were discussing. And they vary. I mean, we could have, as many as 50,000 impressions, on a single banner. We discussed doing a sort of a slide approach, a PowerPoint. So depending on the banner, you'd have like 3 different slides, and we're going to track the clicks. So then the ones that are clicked on the most, then I would, pivot the campaign to focus a little bit more on those things that, people are looking for. So, it's something that that's the beauty of doing it all online, is that I can pivot and track and adjust the campaign. And because it would span over 3 months, it would enable us to do that and kind of see what people are interested in. But in terms of actual hits, it would vary depending on the media outlet, and definitely I would get reporting that I would report back.
Thank you.
I have a question that's somewhat related. Al, the advertisements that are done at the luggage pickup at the airport,
Right.
how much do those cost?
Oh, golly. To be honest, Craig, I don't recall. It was part of our advertising campaign, but I got to tell you, the budget for the airport commission, I think for advertising was somewhere like $75,000. That was it. It was a very small amount given what we needed to do. But specifically, I don't know how much that cost.
Yeah, I was just wondering, we have people locked in waiting for their luggage, whether we could buy one of those advertisement signs for the library and hit people fresh off the plane, knowing the services that we offer. Some of those people that get in off the plane are going to spend 2 or 3 months here.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think, I can follow up on that if you would like, and contact our director of marketing or others at the airport. It would be certainly possible. I just don't know what the cost would be, because the whole idea there is, if you look, I mean, there's a lot of banner ads for marijuana shops and for this, that, and the other, and restaurants and all.
I just think we're better than that.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, if you would like me to, or I mean, Ed can reach out to them. I have the contacts. I'd be more than happy to do that, unless Julie does, maybe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as a department of the city, there's other groups that we work with to do, like we did the downtown banner over the street. And so that was something, so we could work internally with the airport to find that out and see what options we would have. So that's not a problem for me to figure out.
Okay, good.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Trustee Bernie, you have a question?
Yes. So Julie, do we know, are we reaching different people that we normally don't reach when we do these online campaigns? Do you know, are you tracking that, or do you have any idea?
Well, so the first campaign that we did was the library awareness campaign that we were in the midst of when COVID happened. And so I'll see about having those reports. I don't have all my emails that I had before, but I can definitely get some of that reporting back to see who we were starting to reach with the campaign. We were just like about a month and a half into it when COVID started, and then we pivoted to COVID information. So I don't have a lot of that to go on, but that's part of why I'm also wanting to target different media outlets, to making sure that we're hitting different, audiences, different members of the community. Visitors, would be only probably at the airport, although of course, as a resident, I fly in and out of the airport. But in terms of, we want to make sure that we're reaching people who live here, as well as those who come to visit and take advantage of our resources when they're here snowbirding and vacationing too. So that's something definitely when I'm picking media, I focus on. And we did Spanish too during the media campaign. And that would be something we would do again.
Great, thank you. I just want to add something about the airport. I was in Phoenix, the Phoenix airport, and there were announcements coming on. And it was, I am city council member so-and-so. They introduced themselves and then said something about Phoenix, a place you could go, something you could do, an activity. And then a little bit later, you know, the music stopped again, and it was another council member who came on and said, I'm council member, you know, so-and-so, and I'm passionate about this, and you can visit, you know, for example, the library. And I mean, it was just really interesting to hear their voices. I don't know if that's something the airport even does, but it was just, I thought it was very interesting that they were using that while we were just standing there, like you said, waiting for luggage, you know, and we were able to hear some information about the city.
Right.
That's
The Atlanta
great to
airport
hear.
does the same.
We've not done that at the airport. I love that idea. If you don't mind, I want to convey that idea too, Juanita. Yeah, that's a great idea.
They do that in there. They do that at the Atlanta airport as well. So it
Really?
is kind of nice to, if you're visiting, you hear from someone. I'd like to go back to the question that Julie has presented to us, because I do recall the reason we gave the money to the library is because we were going through a time period, this was pre-COVID, where this board was talking about how can we bring more awareness to our community about these wonderful resources around the library. And we actually spent a couple of sessions brainstorming with staff on, you know, what could we do? And it came down to, of course, that the staff just didn't have the budget to do. I think I recall us asking Julie, if you could have a wish list, what would your wish list be if we had some money to promote the library? And she came back with a wonderful wish list. I'm seeing that in my brain right now on, if I had the money, here's what I would do. I think she shocked all of us at the price tag, because we were expecting $100,000 and she got it down to $25,000. And I think that what you did with the money up and through COVID was pretty remarkable. And in the spirit of that, I think that we need to remember that in some ways it was a test, Julie, to see if using trust fund money was a good return on this and got us what the staff wanted to see from this. So for me, one small thing that's missing here is what you just mentioned in your closing remarks is if there's some way for you to report back to us on here's what you felt like we got from that investment. I am personally of the opinion we gave you $25,000. I don't think I'd want to take a dime back. I think you should spend every penny of it as we instructed you to do. And I think that it would be well worth you coming back and saying, guys, here's what we got. And here's where I think we could use the next batch of money for the trust fund to move forward more awareness. I love the Chromebook idea, promoting that. We don't know what's going to happen with our Measure J application. We might be promoting a new community room or a meeting room, right? And I think that is what the trust fund was meant for, is to bring people into the library. In this day and age, it's through media and it's through making people aware. I mean, you know, it's as important as brick and mortar in my mind. So, I mean, and I'm gonna throw this back to you. You can tell us, do you think it's worth spending the rest of the money? Well, I don't want you to think that money, once it's gone, it's gone. I mean, if you want to come back next year in the budget process, say, oh, that was great, now I want some more money. I think that's well within the right of the staff to ask for the money to be used that way. But you tell us, what do you know, it's Christmas, what do you want? Or Hanukkah, what do you want?
Well, I mean, it would be nice to kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of pick up where we left off in terms of utilizing, you know, the funds to continue the awareness campaign. Like, you know, there's other things we've added, like the hotspots, like the Chromebooks, like other services that would be great to get the word out about. It's hard because we were right in the thick of it when everything happened. And I'm hoping I could get some of that data and everything, you know, at this time to be able to share and kind of say what we were able to accomplish. I can definitely report on, you know, all the places that we were, you know, and the activities that we were doing. But I will definitely get as much information as I can to share with you. And I'm happy to, you know, work on the, you know, more specifics on the web banner proposal and bring that back to share too. But it would be nice to kind of be able to finish it and, you know, and have some results and reporting that I could share with the board.
Well, in my opinion, it's still your money. I mean, we haven't taken it away from you. You know, I mean, it's still on our sheet, it's committed to you until we decide to take it away. But I don't think anyone, I'll stop there unless there is another trustee who feels that we should take that money and put it back in the kitty. But I think that you owe us the report back on how well the campaign went, the results. Did it meet your expectations? Did it not? And you know, we wait before we make that decision. So does anyone feel differently than that?
So,
Please go.
well, I'd like to make a motion that we table any further expenditures and then have Julie bring back a report on what was a hit, what was a miss, and then we can make a decision after that.
And I'm happy to do that as long as I can access that data. I mean, that was over a year or almost 2 years ago when we, you know, suspended the campaign, you know, mid-campaign. So as much of that data that's available, I will definitely get. And some of it I may not have anymore because when I left, my email left. But I will definitely try to get as much of that as I can to share. I'm happy to do that.
And I'm just thinking in the future, I'm assuming, Julie, you're going to come back to us in the future for more dollars. Maybe your presentation in the future can put a valuation project in there so we can see what is a hit, what is a miss, survey people of how did they hear about this, so that we can function more successfully. So that's my motion.
Do I have a second to that motion, or do I have an amendment to that motion? Trustee Gardner?
So I just want to get this clear. The motion is to not spend any more money, to hold on to that $5,000?
Just not to spend any money until we hear back from her what was a hit, what was a miss.
Okay, so I guess my concern is how long is that going to, I mean, it's going to be in, you know, we're still in COVID. And so if we've hit the ground running and we're going with this and then we halt it, I feel like we need this momentum. We need to keep going, and people are wanting information, they're needing information, and I don't want to stop it. I mean, that's just my thought. I'd like for this money to keep going out there to reach as many people as possible. But that's my thought.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but we haven't been spending any of this money since COVID. Is that correct? Besides the hotspots?
Yeah. So yeah, we pivoted and we did about a 3-week campaign when we closed about what resources we had about COVID, and we used some of that money for that and kind of changed the messaging. And then yes, we stopped.
Okay. Well, let's rephrase the motion to say that if all of a sudden, Julie, you got a phone call tomorrow where, you know, KESQ is offering you $1,000 and hours of commercials on television, you know, that's a different thing there, right? But I'm assuming that between now and our next meeting in 30 days, that you can come back with at least some information, whether it's, you know, in a report or if it's hearsay, whatever you have to come back and tell us how that money was spent. That, you know, I agree with Juanita. I don't necessarily need to say you need to stop spending because the money was approved for you to spend right now. I think that it's to answer your question though about do we continue spending or do we put it back in? I think it's a little premature to answer that question. Am I making any sense on that? I mean, I don't think we have enough information to give you an answer tonight on your question. Right? Your question was stop spending, put it back, or continue spending, right?
Well, my question was answering your question from last month, asking for suggestions about how to use the remaining money. And so I'm answering that by saying I was providing two choices: to use the remaining money, either not to use it or to just use it on a web banner campaign to finish out the campaign that we started so long ago. So, but I will work on.
Thank you for the clarification.
Oh, okay.
So I think then the question before this board is, do you want her to consider this done and put the money back into the fund, which, by the way, she can always come back and ask for another request. Or
And I'll
should
give
she
the
go ahead and
report.
spend it? Okay,
Yeah, I'd like to suggest
So-
that we use her option 2, do the online web banner campaign.
finish spending it.
Mhm.
So can we have a roll call? Let's answer the question through roll call majority. So-
You've got one motion on the table. You need to deal with the first motion.
You know what? I don't have a second, so I can take mine off.
Yeah, so we'll remove that one.
So no,
let's-
no
let-
second.
let's do a roll call. For those who prefer that the money go back into the fund, and can you please say yes? So do a roll call, Jeannie.
Well, you need a motion and a second.
Ed can't make a motion.
Why not?
Because he's chair.
Is that in your house? I don't think so.
I think that's usual
Yeah,
procedure.
normally the chair doesn't make a motion.
Okay.
Oh,
But
regardless,
Mike-
I'll make the motion on behalf
Okay.
of what Ed was and Craig. if you
Okay,
want
and
to-
Ed, when you're talking about the fund, goes back into the fund, is it goes back into the advertisement fund, or is it going back into our trustees fund?
Trustees fund, because we don't have we don't have, the fund that you see now on the budget, we established by giving that money to Julie to spend.
Right,
If that money goes away, it just, our bylaws say that money goes back into the project fund. Where it goes.
Yeah,
You
the
don't spend it,
future
it's-
library projects fund.
fund.
I'm sorry, thank you. I keep forgetting what that's called.
Okay, you have a motion and a second, so
So who's the second?
Craig.
Did you second that one?
I still need okay, can
Restate
we
the
hear
motion, please, Al.
can we, state the motion again?
The motion as suggested was to return the unused portion of the money set aside for a PR campaign back into the fund itself to be used another day.
Oh, I thought
Can I
you
get a second?
said.
Second that. Not in favor of
Okay.
it, but I'm gonna second it.
Well,
So
this
So,
is-
and
yes,
then,
if
Right,
you're not in favor, that's how we're going to vote against. Yeah,
yeah.
right, then you'll vote. But, okay,
I'm not
so-
in favor of the motion.
motion
either.
So the motion from trustee Jones is to put the money back into the future project fund. We have a second on the table from trustee Borba. Let's
Correct.
do a roll call vote. Now, to be clear, if you vote no, that means that the funds will continue where they are now for Judy to spend, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Roll call.
Okay, Ed McBride,
No.
Craig Borba,
No,
Juanita Garner,
No,
David Norgard,
Nay.
Al Jones.
No,
That is the weirdest vote I've seen in my life.
Okay.
And the motion royally failed 0-5.
okay,
That
so,
means that there's your answer, Julie. Spend the money.
Okay.
well, no, that's not the answer, because I'm gonna vote no on whether she's going to start this new direction until we hear how the previous one went.
oh,
Okay, so the motion we have from trustee Borba is that Julie still has the money, but she's not to spend it until she comes back with some sort of analytics on how the campaign has gone so far. Is that how it's stated, trustee Borba?
That's correct.
I'll
You have a
second that. I'll second. I like that.
Trustee Jones second, so roll call.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Good luck, Lisa, with the minutes. Ed McBride,
Yes.
Craig Borba,
Yes,
Juanita Garner,
yes,
David Norgard.
Aye.
You say yes?
Yeah, yes.
And Al Jones.
Yes. I will agree. These are the strangest two motions I've seen.
The motion
I'm so
passed.
confused.
And to be fair, it's December. Nothing really happens much in December.
That will give Julie
Really,
the
we'll have
time
it ready to
the
go. It'll be
analytics
like lightning
necessary, yeah.
fast once it gets approved.
and And by that time, Julie,
Okay.
will you have the airport information also?
I will definitely try to get it as well. Yeah, I mean, and I just want to be clear, what I'm gonna report on is like almost 2 years old of, so.
Understand.
Okay, I want to set expectations of what I'm gonna be able to get.
But also your previous experience, you can say, hey, this part
Absolutely.
did not work, this part worked. I need to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do it. It's just so hard because I just want to remind you that, we stopped the campaign because we closed the library, and the library was closed for almost a year. So I don't know that we're going to see the fruit of what we did because we weren't opening and weren't doing anything. I mean, people access the library virtually, but it was a different thing than what we had planned to campaign for. So the results that we had anticipated or expected or hoped for, it's not this, it's apples and oranges. I just want you to be clear.
I think we understand
No.
that.
Okay.
I want to get a sense, in spite of all of that, with the caveats, which we understand as well. So I think you're on
Okay.
safe ground.
Okay.
And for the sake of clarity, I think that my question about that, and maybe I should have been clear about that. I'm very sorry, but I think this could very well become a standing fund, as we just referred to, going forward every year, that we give you money for awareness for the library, right? So I was trying to get to, let's see how well it went. And by the way, 2 years, those 2 years have us all screwed up. But do the best you can, because looking forward, we want to be, I'd like to see us establish some sort of similar fund to give you every year to make people aware of the library. Make sense? It's really
Absolutely.
measurable.
Okay, and Julie, 2 points. When you bring this back, if you can tell us exactly how this money is to be spent, if you're going to go with the banner idea, and then
Okay.
how you're going to evaluate the success of that.
Oh, yeah.
Could you
definitely.
survey or have people give you input?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion for the world that we forget the last 2 years and we all get 2 years younger and we just forget those 2 years ever existed. How's that? I
I'll
wish
vote
I
for
was
that
that
one.
chair, right?
I'd like that
Vote
2
for
years
that.
younger. Thank
For
you,
a
Ed.
variety of different reasons, starting over. That's good.
Oh my God. Anyway.
And
All right,
I would like to
thank you,
jump in
Julie.
just real quick, Ed, and also just anecdotally talk about I don't know the details of how they hit. I know they went well, but our Palm Springs speaker series, we did a lot of web ads with them, and we would get reports back, and I want to say, 80,000 hits or 800,000 impressions, whatever it was. So it got a lot of traffic, and there are a lot of new ways to do. There's YouTube advertising now that didn't exist before. Anecdotally, I think we are not sure that TV. It depended on what we were advertising. TV maybe was a good thing for summer reading, maybe not for awareness. We just don't really know for sure, but they can get data on click-throughs and impressions of how many it's seen, and they'll guarantee, that's what we were doing. We would purchase something like 80,000 views, and so we were guaranteed a number of views that they would plug it out there as many times, and we would see them. So that's how they would track that. So yeah, maybe getting the data. Don't know if it's going to be there, but yeah.
We have
way to target
to
people.
say, Jeannie, we have to say that, the future we know holds some sort of new and improved facility for our community when it comes to the library. We cannot make our community aware enough of the things that you guys do under the roof you have now if we want to expand that and make it a better library. So I think going forward, I think that is part of our responsibility to help that. So,
It was part of your
tell people
strategic
enough.
plan, the strategic
Absolutely.
plan was to build.
And in the grand scheme of the money, I think it's money well spent, even with those horrible last 2 years. So let's all agree we're going to hear how it went and decide if it's enough, or if you need more. How's
Right.
that?
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I didn't think that item would take that long. Item T, the Finance Investments Ad Hoc Committee. Now this one I thought would take us a while, so I'm gonna turn this over to Trustee Jones and Borba, can't wait to hear your report.
I don't know, Craig, we didn't talk about it. You want me to start off?
Yeah, you start. and I'll
All right,
add in.
all right. Well, Craig and I and Julie met with Chris McCary, who's the senior portfolio manager with Chandler, who does the investments for the city. Heather Kane, who's the account manager for the city of Palm Springs. And there was a third person, Nancy. I never got her last name or what she does. But we did learn that
Nancy Polly's the finance director.
what was her last name?
Polly.
Polly.
Like Jane Polly.
Polly.
Maybe not spelled the
Okay,
same.
she's the finance director. Thank you. Thank you for filling in that major gap. Okay. We learned several things. There's a government code 53601, California government code, that sets certain restrictions on how you can invest public funds. There's an issue of liquidity. The maximum maturity in bonds that you can purchase are up to 5 years. The types of investments that are permitted are outlined. They have to be safe investments. Corporate bonds have to be rated A or better. Chandler itself manages $25 billion with over 110 cities in California, as well as other entities that fall under the guidelines of the California Code, such as cemetery districts and transportation districts and the like. They did indicate that Palm Springs is more conservative in its investing than others. They require the incorporation of a social responsibility investing, which they do, by the way, the city council does in most types of activities. I'm chair of a sister city, co-chair of a sister city committee, and we're required to put together a group that recognizes and selects sister cities that have the same social responsibilities as we do. City of Palm Springs will not allow investments in alcohol or tobacco companies. So they're a little bit more conservative, which means the return is a little bit conservative as well. We did share that we had 1.8 million in our account. The city has invested over 285 million, so we're kind of a drop in the bucket. But we do, because our funds are commingled with the city, we do get a return. The question, I think, is, and I'm going to turn over to Craig for his thoughts on this too. The rates of return were not that exciting. At least I don't think they were. And Craig, you correct me too.
No, they were not.
No, and the question before us is, do we think we would be better off pulling out our 1.8 million and having it invested separately in a more aggressive kind of way within the constraints that the California government code stipulates, or are we better to leverage our money with the city of Palm Springs? I mean, it really comes down to that. But Craig, why don't you step in here about the returns and your thoughts?
Okay. I asked Chris, who was a senior portfolio strategist, since the city has gone so conservative, what would be the difference if we went the maximum that would be allowed under this 53601 code? He said not much difference. He says they're not losing that much on their investments. But again, it was pretty vague. Right now, they're moving their money that was previously invested by the city or by another firm into the Chandler organization. So that's going to take a period of time before all the changes, stocks, bonds being sold, transferred to what their plan is. They've done it since March, I think is what they said.
Yeah, right.
So it's been over 6 months, but they said it's going to take about a year. My previous experience with this type of change is that's pretty typical. But the return that they have right now, and because they're transferring the bonds to other bonds, is a negative, I think it was a negative 0.2.
Yeah, that's what I recall, 0.2 or 0.3, but yeah.
So obviously right now we're not making money. We're actually losing some money. I don't know what the future is going to be with this organization. I'm not sure what other investment companies are out there that follow the code for investment, but I think it's worth our checking that out. Mm-hmm. Does Wells Fargo do this? Does the Community Foundation do this? Is there another agency out there that does that? But the return that we were getting before was 0.5%. Even if this gets up to 1% and doubles what the other one was getting, a 1% return on our money is very poor we're not keeping up with the cost of living.
Mhm.
So our investments are losing money. I would like to see what this portfolio looks like next March and see if the return is any better before we make any other decisions. But I'm glad the city's moved to something new, but right now I'm waiting. So. Back to
Thus
you,
ends
Al.
our report. Thus ends our report.
So my question for you, Trustee Borba and Jones, are you suggesting that we, of the next quarter, we just wait, or should we also be investigating as well what our options are? What are your recommendations on that?
I would like us to look into, see who else is out there that would follow the code for investment and just gather names.
Right.
And then let's see how this group does, and maybe line up some speakers in the future to come and speak at our board meetings, just to give a 10 to 15 minute explanation of their success or failures, so that we're making the right decisions for our investment.
Right. Craig, let me ask you, because Craig and I didn't have a chance to have a follow-up conversation. While we go out and we find names of other possible entities, would it not be to our advantage to go ahead and interview them if we could, just to get a sense like we did with?
For sure. For sure, I'd like to do that.
I just want to be sure I understood what you were suggesting.
And I don't know whether to interview them in front of the whole board or as our finance committee. I could go either direction. Ed, that would be your decision, of course.
Yeah. Trustee Garner, question.
Yes, Dr. Borba, you had spoken at another meeting about being part of some other organizations that had, and I don't remember the names of the companies that did their investing.
Right.
Did anything come out of that? Did you?
Are
they not following the guidelines the city wants them?
Yeah, the other organizations don't have to follow code 53601.
Okay.
So that's very restrictive, and it goes back to the Orange County issue that came up about 20 years ago where they lost all that money. And I think, and Jeannie and Ed correct me, that even though we're trustees, and I don't know where our first money was generated, but we still have to follow these guidelines. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So these guidelines are pretty strict on volatility, almost to the point that it's punishing.
Wow.
But Mizell, I'm on their finance. I'm consulting with friends right now with Nancy, and then the RAP Foundation, which is funds the whole Coachella Valley. We use different entities, and even though the RAP money comes with tax dollars, it's generated from Costco and that development, we spend those dollars. We're not restricted by this code. So I'm kind of concerned that one organization has to follow it and the other one doesn't.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
But these the community foundation, I think their return was 7 or 8%, up to 10%.
Yeah,
and
that's what I recall. Yeah.
Pretty great. Yeah.
Same with Wells Fargo.
So so how are you going to find these other entities that are going to fit within the guidelines of the city, what the city requires? Like, what is the process to finding somebody who can actually do this?
Well, I was thinking we would call Chandler and find out who their competitors are.
Okay.
Who gives you the biggest challenge, and then also talk with the ones that I'm familiar with in the community here to see whether they would follow that same code within their organization.
Right. And I have some contacts too. I could reach out to them as well. They used to be the wealth managers at Wells Fargo and Bank of America and others. And yeah, I think we won't have a difficult time pulling some names together.
Okay.
So that would be our next step. Right. We're not really coming back with a recommendation at this point. Other than that, I mean, that is our recommendation, but it's just continuing the work that you charged us with doing.
No, personally, I feel like we're making steps and we're making progress from where we were a year ago. I mean,
Mhm,
every time we talk about this. So I think that what you've where we're at now, I agree that waiting until the first quarter to see how this new, let me back up. When we met, Jeannie and I met with the city attorney and the city finance director, that's basically what they asked us then is, give us a try, give us a look, see what we can do under this new investment structure. So I think that we owe that. I mean, I think we should do that. So giving them the first quarter to see the results is definitely something we should do. But I do think that in the meantime, we should continue our investigation and finding out what are our options. I don't want too much time to pass by and start that process after March. So that's my personal opinion. Anyone agree, disagree, want to add comments to that?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think we need to be prepared for whatever the answer is. If it's going to be, we're going to stick with the city, that's fantastic. If that all works out, but if it doesn't, we need to have a plan ready to go so that we're, so that we're not starting over again or still discussing it. So we're able to move forward in whatever direction it is.
Trustee Norgard.
Can I just mention something that they did mention at the meeting? They did say, and of course, right now, like everyone said, they are just very recent with this firm, and they're slowly rolling in the investments to be fully invested within a full year. So they're not even at their full potential. They're just taking it to get the investments into this structure. But the finance director said, we, even though it doesn't really look like great returns or any returns, we may be at an advantage because we only have 1.8 million compared to their, what was it, 280 million. So we may get a better return because we're in the bigger pot with them. Different things, investments. So that was one thing that did come up. I don't, time.
I remember having a discussion with Trustee Kelly when he was doing this work as well. And I mean, I think an option also would be we don't necessarily have to put all of our eggs in one basket.
Correct.
I mean, we could keep some money with the city. We could put some money with someone else. I mean, we can't also forget that this body established a foundation to help raise money for a new facility. And some of this money at some point we're going to have to give to the foundation because we created it. It might have to kick them off. So I think that we're doing our due diligence now by looking at what are all of our options and making that decision. So, yeah.
And I think that's an excellent point where we can diversify within different agencies and see how well we do.
That makes me have a question, Craig. If we were to give money to the foundation, as we're entitled to do, does the foundation have to follow those same guidelines? And I think that the city attorney, Jeannie, didn't he say that? And I can't remember if we even asked him that question.
Well, right now, I think that there is a bond between the two groups with the trust fund and the library foundation. If they pay off their debt, then there's no bond and no obligation to stick with these types of investments. And so it's kind of a gray area, I think, right now.
I need to clarify that, I think.
Completely clear if the money was separated.
Yeah. Am I making sense, guys? I mean, if we were to say if the foundation came to us and said, we're ready to start a capital campaign and we would like for the trustees to provide that first donation to help kick off that campaign, and we agreed to do that, would those funds then go to them unrestricted, or would they have to be restricted according to the same law? I don't know.
That's a wonderful thought, Ed. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Where we could give them the money as another loan, which we've already done. And
Mhm.
aren't they investing the money that we've given them at?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the money they have left over from the fund, along with the money they're raising, they now have an investment policy, and they're working with, I think, Edward Jones to invest the funds as well and create a portfolio. They're even now authorized to take stock. I think they've had a recent stock gift that they've accepted as well. So they're coming right along. But I think that's a question I'm trying to remember, Jeannie, we didn't ask that question. I wish now I'd asked when we had that meeting with them, what happens if we give, I know that we can certainly give the foundation money. But I think that we need to clarify, if we give them money, do those funds go into restricted use where they have to be if they invest them, they have to be invested according to the rules. Now, naturally, that money's going to come back to the city anyway, right? In the way of paying for a building. So, but I think we have to have that discussion on how would that work?
Well, Ed, we've already done that.
Well, yeah, we have. Right.
And
you're right.
Yeah, and we just did it as a loan. We didn't really give them the money. We loaned them the
Loan
money.
them the money.
Wow, that's interesting.
We
As,
probably should get that clarified sooner rather than later, because if they're investing those funds that we loan them, we have a note between us. We want to make sure that they're not violating any state law, right? Geez, I didn't think about that.
I know when when you asked, can we take the money out? They said you have to invest it as if it were with the city. So you'd have to follow the same rules. You have to have an annual audit. And so there's a lot of reporting, a lot of work on your part. And you have to decide if it's worth it to be in charge of that.
But we're presently not doing that with our existing situation.
No, we're not.
Mhm.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I have a feeling that we're going to find these things as we move forward, right? And it's
Mhm.
what we're here to do. We know
Right.
this is our primary charge. So these are the rocks we're going to have to turn over to see what's under them and make decisions accordingly. So, and I think we were very clear with that when we met with them, Jeannie, that we may find that we're going to stay where we are, but at least we'll know. And for the future boards that follow us, they'll have known that we did this, right? And they may repeat the same thing and do it again. Who knows?
The best
So
thing, I keep saying the best thing to do is just have the foundation pay off that $60,000 loan. And then all the donations you receive as a foundation, you can invest it however you want as a foundation.
But my question is, what if we want to make a donation to them? Can we? Can the trust fund make a donation to the foundation? I don't know. I mean, I always assumed they could, but I've been
Yeah, they said
educated.
you could take it out, but you have to invest it the same way as the city.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we need to ask somebody who can tell us a direct answer. We're kind of
Yeah.
spinning our wheels here.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you both for what you've done. And clearly your job is not done.
No, thank
You've
you.
got a lot more to do.
Ed, do you want to
right,
get
thank you.
together in the new year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Al.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. No, I was just hitting my.
I think you muted us. Al, are you still there? You can't
No,
hear.
he's muted.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry.
Okay,
Right.
so Ed, you're directing us to continue with this? And then
Yes.
Al, how about in January?
Sure. I think that sounds good. What I'm going to do is I made a note, Craig. I'm going to reach out to a couple friends tomorrow and just say who were in charge of wealth management with the bank and all. Hang on just a second. I'm sorry, I have a house guest. So,
Oh,
no, what I was going to reach out tomorrow is to ask them and just to give us some sense of who we might seek some information from. So,
great.
I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, I think, Craig, we just agreed to meet at the beginning of the year.
And I don't know, I may be gone from the 6th to the 23rd
Of what?
January.
Well, here's my problem. I start flight attendant training on the 4th
That's right.
with until that, at least as it stands now, I'm still planning to be a flight attendant for SkyWest.
Okay, well, maybe January 3rd, then we can get together.
There we go. That would be a good thing. We'll see. So maybe we can do that
Okay.
beforehand. I don't think
Maybe
you're
you
planning-
both will be at the same New Year's Eve party. You never know.
Well, don't know. Well, unless you're training to be a flight attendant too, Craig, then maybe we'll be in the same class. I don't know.
No, I'm hoping to be on a cruise, so we'll see.
All right. Anyway, okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. We
Okay.
continue our quest. Thank you. And the last item is just for your information. You may recall at our last meeting, we talked about our Measure J application. It is attached in your packet.
Mhm.
And everybody who contributed, thank you very much for making our contribution. But it was interesting that once I started digging around in the professional literature, there's a lot out there about how current libraries use meeting facilities to bring the community and make your spaces. He helped me identify
You're breaking up.
what we
Ed, you're
could
breaking.
use. Sorry. Yeah, it just came on. Tell me I'm being unstable. I don't know what that means, but anyway. I've known that for years. But anyway, so anyway, you saw the application. It has been uploaded, and now it's a matter of us waiting to hear back from Measure J. And all I would add to it is that I think we need paired that if they come back and say, we've approved this, but we're going to give you money, and it's not the amount of money we need, that we look at our partners and possibly the trust fund to get Jeannie what she needs in order to make this facility what it needs to be. That's really my thoughts on that. Any questions for me about the application or?
Nope.
No,
Jeannie, anything you want to add? Have you heard anything?
No way. I haven't heard it. Okay.
when are we expecting to hear their decision?
They are going to take months to review them in stages.
Oh, okay,
So the spring,
all right.
and then they want presentations from the applicants. They're going to invite us
Yeah.
to come.
Great.
That's what it said, I think.
Yeah. Which is great. I think that we, I know that the city has wanted to spend some Measure J funds on the library for a long time now. So let's hope that they remember that. And we get a piece of that pie to get us kicked off. And it'll be a great exercise for all of us, right?
Right.
Okay. Now to any trustee, staff comments or future agenda items that any of you may have.
Mhm.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have, I mentioned something at the very end of last month's meeting, and I just wanted to let you know that probably soon I'll have more information about the Wellwood railing project that will be happening on the front
Okay.
of the Wellwood. And that's being paid out of our Wellwood operations budget. It has nothing to do with the trust fund whatsoever, but I just want to keep you in the loop and updated that project is proceeding forward.
And this is just railing. This is not a ramp, correctly?
That's correct, just a railing on the front steps.
Thank you.
I would like for the minutes to reflect, it was so not, Judy, come back, don't go away. Come back. Come
I'm
back.
still here. I'm still here.
I want to see you when I say this. I thought that staff did, working with the LGBTQ archive project, you guys did a wonderful job. It was so nice to use the patio for the first time for me, for the opening night, well attended, got lots of wonderful press. And I think that it is just the beginning steps of what we're going to see for our community and how it was embraced. And I know that was a lot of hard work and still working on it. But that was really great. Made me very proud to be there and to be a part of that. And, you know, hope that someday we'll look back in those archives and someone will say, oh my gosh, look what these people did back in 2021, building this wonderful archive, this beautiful facility. Who are they? Who were they? Right? So good work, Jeannie and Julie, and to everyone else who was involved. So that was very nice.
Julie, it was hard work
Thank you.
on that one. Thank you.
And to
Thank you.
finally use that patio for something, right? I mean, I never thought we'd ever live that long. Yeah.
And some of our
Anyway,
former trustees got to come and enjoy it too. It was really
Oh, I know.
beautiful event.
RW,
with-
right?
Yeah, and with bringing back some programming, I'm hoping to do some things on the patio in the spring, late winter, early spring too. So you'll see some more things out on that patio soon.
Yeah,
Great.
Anything else, anyone?
No,
Well, I want to wish all of you a wonderful holiday season, safe travels, or if you're going somewhere, but enjoy these holidays. I can believe it's already Christmas, Hanukkah, all these holidays are here. And thank you for your service this year in 2021. And I think 2022 is going to hold even a better year for us and for our community and for the library. And I want to say thank you, staff, for keeping the doors open and working really hard, doing 2 and 3 jobs to make sure that we were successful. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not,
I move.
the meeting is, I have a second. Happy holidays, and we're adjourned on December the 1st, and it's not 9 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, right?
Yes, it is.
All right.
7:03
All
to
right.
be precise, but
Seven
yeah.
oh-
Happy holidays.
From the wall. All right,
Bye-bye.
guys, thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Right.